Hi, I'm Mikey Jeanson, a gameplay programmer with a background in Unreal Engine and C++. I've helped make several games including Your Average Bear, but now I'm a full-time UEFN developer, and this is Verse Boost. Welcome in, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about event-driven programming. Unlike my other videos, this one is going to be more theoretical and not as practical. But we're talking about event-driven programming today because EDP will make your code much more flexible and adaptable down the line when you add new mechanics and all that stuff. So let's go over an example to show you what event-driven programming is in case you're unfamiliar. Let's say we have a light switch and let's say we have a light. We'll just include a light variable in our switch that turns a light on. So let's just say we have the light switch, and then when we turn it on, we get our light that we are storing in our light switch class, and we're turning it on or off based on it, and then in the light class we do that. Well, if we have another light, well, now we'd have to have an array of lights, and in our code we'd have to do for each light, turn it on, turn it off. And that might seem fine, but let's say we add a new variable into the mix. Let's say we have a microwave, and this microwave doesn't fit in our lights class. Well, if we want to connect it to our switch, then we have to make a new variable and store the microwave there. And you can see where this could maybe get really tedious, adding in all these different things that connect to the light. Well, let's think about another way to do it. Let's say that there's a light switch that is connected to our wall outlets, right? Let's just say there's a cord that goes around, and each one of these lights or microwaves subscribes to that event when it turns on and turns off. So if you watched last week's episode, you'll know that listenable logic, you can listen to it, you can subscribe, or you can await, and each time it changes, the light will be responsible itself for what happens when this switch event is signaled, right? And that makes it really simple if we want to remove something like B. If we want to remove B, we just take it out of the equation and we don't have to do anything on the switch side. And none of these other lamps are connected to it as well. We just take it out and it's all good. But what if we want to do it before? If we wanted to do it before, well, we have to take out B, obviously delete it from our map. But then we have to take it away from our lights array just to illustrate how out of hand it could get. Let's say we have all of these devices. We got lights, microwaves, toaster, blender, TV, speakers, phone charger, all these things like attached to our light switch. Well, now the light switch is responsible for all of those things, so you need to hook it up every single time. And every single time you turn it on, and when you have to remove it, you have to remove it from turn on and turn off and from here. So it just gets really, really tedious really fast if we were to do that, right? Let's go back to a real world example. Let's say a player interacts with a button to loot something, and it is from a device that has a loot event. And then let's say the loot event is listening to that. Well, let's get some gold, and the UI pops up, but it pops up that thing that shows it got some gold. Okay, well, now we want to add a little thing in the top right that shows off how much gold you have. Well, now the HUD can listen to that loot event. Or we can have a quest that's listening. We want the player to pick up 20 gold. And now we have an achievement. Pick up, 10,000 gold over your playing. Well, the achievements can listen to it. And meanwhile, this has nothing, it has no idea that there's anything listened to it. It just signals a loot event, and that's all it does. Well, this is a great example of separation of concerns, right? Like I said, all these things can be added. UI, HUD, quests, achievements, and so on. All these things can be added without adjusting our core functionality with the looting. Everything is self-contained. The UI isn't worried about HUD isn't worried about quests, and so forth. All the button does is it says, hey, if anyone's listening out there, somebody just looted some gold, and everyone who is listening gets to do their thing with it. So now we're back in VS Code, and I just want to show off what we would do in the light switch example. So let's say we create this switch event with a switch listenable that is similar to our custom listenable that we made last week in our last episode. and see how the light switch is completely responsible for itself. It has no idea who's listening to it. It doesn't matter. It's going to turn on, and whoever wants to be subscribed to this event will do so. So we signal the event and turned on and turned off. And then in our light class, for example, all we have to do is hook up the light switch and call this setup. This could be an on begin instead, but it just subscribes to the event. On the switch, it will turn on or turn off, and it's completely responsible for itself. It doesn't know anything about the microwaves, the TVs, or anything, and the light switch is only worried about itself. Last thing I want to talk about is busy waiting. I think with UEFN, we have started in a good spot where we're always having to subscribe to these events, whether it was back in Fortnite Creative or it's in Verse. We have to be dealing with listenables. But back in the day, I used to do this a lot. It's a common pitfall for beginner programmers is instead of waiting for an event, we're always checking if something is true or false, or we're waiting on a value and we're just checking every tick. Well, yeah, with event-driven programming, this is how it changes, right? We wait for our light switch event, we await it, so it suspends here. It's not checking every second or whatever, every tick. It just waits for the event, and then it calls back into this function, and we deal with that event. So hopefully that helps you guys understand the power of event-driven programming. VerseBoost files are on my website at datalessstudios.com/VerseBoost. No VerseBoost files today because we didn't really go over that much Verse. Let me know what you guys thought of the more theoretical video instead of more practical. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye.